Hi all, welcome back to Fields of Fire. This is the Normandy campaign mission 3, St George del la Parc defensive. This is my part 8, I think. Yeah, I think 8. Okay, quite a few things to talk about. Don't have loads of time either, but I'd like to get another wee bit done. There is a possibility, I guess this is going to go half an hour or so I might even include this as a part, because a couple of real blunders came up. One huge, right from the start of all the playthroughs, only just been picked up just now. I can only think I've either got lucky with it throughout up until now, or I don't know, or nobody else has noticed it, which would be rather strange because it's a basic rule that I've been getting wrong throughout. Anyway, and there's also one major thing regarding the patrols that I've since found out, and really annoyed because I read through it and just didn't read it carefully enough. But anyway, a couple of comments on BGG. I'm just trying to go through this and then go to my YouTube videos. Capturing. Yeah, we were a bit confused because this has got this mainline resistance, and it talks about what is it? Capturing enemy casualties. They need to be, if they're in front of that, they don't count. But then it says if offensive or combat patrols, enemy casualties are automatically captured if they're on an unoccupied card, which means no enemy units or PC markers. And the PC markers bit was a bit that almost caught me out way up the top there. I'm talking about the previous mission to that, the previous patrol to this, or if they were friendly occupied. So there's a wee bit contradiction there though, although Andrews came back and said that it's been probably abbreviated a bit too much in 3.5.1. So fair enough. If we look at 3.5.1 and the rules, yeah, my guess he's meaning this exception that's been abbreviated and should say casualties on a defensive mission in front of the MLR or unoccupied cards are not captured, because it obviously doesn't apply, because he's replied with, sure, MLR is just to show where the rest of your company are. If there is one in a combat patrol mission, regular capture rules apply. There are lots of you roaming about there. So, and then he says, yeah, probably abbreviated a bit too much here with 3.51. So I think all they would need to add there is casualties in a defensive mission in front of the MLR on unoccupied cards are not captured, I think. So that's good to know anyway, that gets that one sorted. Right, Andrew's made lots of comments. He doesn't put timestamps down. Generally, I can pick up what he's talking about though, because they're quite general sort of comments. Although there was one that I've got some idea what he was talking about, but without going through the video and watching it, not quite clear on what he's saying I was doing, but I'll get to that in a second. So I'll try and run through these kind of quick. He says you should have 5 mortar illumination counters, and that is, well, I've got artillery on one side and mortar illumination on the other side. I can only, hang on, I meant to look at the other box, hang on. Okay, I've got this box set aside because it's got the Vietnam and I'm assuming these are Vietnam and Korea counters. And you see I've got some ammo markers here, which I generally don't use. Out of ammo, I pinched a couple of them, moved fire markers and activated. These are for vehicles, and look what we got here. Artillery illumination, so there's quite a few of them. Airdropped illumination, so it turns out I do have them after all, Andrew. However, still not came across that bazooka, but thanks for pointing that out, because I think I replied to you saying, I don't know where they are, and then not long after that I thought, wait a minute, could they be in the other box, the stuff that's for the Vietnam? And there they are. But I can't see the bazooka hiding here. I'm not sure why it would be in here, but it's clearly green as well, and you can see that these are all brown and blue, so yeah, not sure what's happened to that one. Let's hope the dog's not got it. But it was before I set things up again. Well, it was while I was setting things up. I just never came across it. Anyway, we've got the illumination markers, so I'll maybe take a couple of them out. Okay. Yeah, next he says there's a new rule in 4.3.6, in case you missed it, that says cover smoke can't be used in night missions. Yeah, I did eventually come across it, and that's when I realised cover smoke cannot be used for signalling during night missions. So I did have the smoke with me, and then realised later on that it wasn't of any use. So that's fine. Next comment, new mission books just tell you what cover to place stuff in. We found players like that better than searching the rulebook, BGG, etc. Well, absolutely, yeah. If it tells you exactly what cover that they come in, rather than have to, see cover and then have to look for the rulebook and that, it's not an awful lot to add there. So sounds like they've done that good. Breakdown for Germans are complicated. Yes, paratroops had all sorts of weapons on paper and a somewhat different set in reality. We've made it less complex recently by adding some new German squad types to 3rd edition. Easiest way to do it if you don't want to mess about is to draw a D2 if you ever have to place 2 German fire teams. On a 1, place 2 A-rated teams, split the remaining ammo between them. Yeah. This is the thing, further on, he has actually commented that the fire teams do track ammo as well. So, I'm assuming that must be because he says on a 1, place 2 A-rated fire teams, split the remaining ammo between them, and then the AC fire teams track ammo. On a 2, place an A and an S, and don't worry too much about your AS fire teams. So yeah, I think we will kind of randomise that in future between the AS and the just the A rated. And we'll need to watch that even the fire teams track ammo. I didn't know that. So there we go. Yeah, confirmation about the experience that the question Martin had asked if 2 fire teams on the German side were to reconstitute. Is it reconstitute? No. What is it again? Is it reconstitute? Supplement? No. Yeah, it is reconstitute, yeah. So if it was 2 fire teams, fire teams are green, so you would consider them to be, and he asked, what would the experience be? And at first I said it was a good question, then I thought, well, I'm not saying it isn't a good question. I'm just saying that, I would think that probably they'd just come back as green. I don't think they can be a line. So Andrew's come back saying, experience, sure, the enemy follow all the rules unless exceptions are specifically noted, so he'd be green. Also have to follow the in quotes, can't increase firepower rule, which so would require at least 1 A-rated fire team to make an A-rated squad. Yeah, so you can see that if you had 2, if for some reason they were small arms rated, then they would have to be a small arms when they returned. But they would still be green. So yeah, okay, good stuff. And we'll come back to that one. You're not aside any coloured smoke on the night missions in 3rd edition books, so don't need to worry about it. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Okay, he says there's one very important rule you're missing, and I say this mostly for the benefit of people watching you, as I know you'll continue to do what you're doing, which admittedly as a developer is really helpful. Okay, so fair enough. That rule is on page 8 in a big red box marked important. I will show you that. So there it is there. Fields of Fire is a complex game with countless possible situations that may occur. If the situation is unclear, or if you've forgotten one of the many rules, simply use a random number generator to determine what should happen. Things happen in battle that are often strange or illogical, so the use of randomness is not inherently ahistorical. At this level, the actual commanders often had very limited insight into larger questions, which made the actions on the battlefield often seem random. So, he's basically saying he's highlighted if the situation is unclear or if you've forgotten one of the main rules, well, he adds a little bit in here which isn't written. So yeah, if the situation is unclear or if you've forgotten one of the many rules and the developer is still in bed when you post due to the 9-hour time difference between you and him, simply use the random number generator to determine what should happen. Okay, so adding a bit of fun into that bit. So the system is robust enough to allow you to skip over rules and decide which card to draw. And decide with a card draw, sorry. When you learn a few more rules later, use them and eventually give yourself promotion to veteran player once you think you've had them all down. And yeah, okay, I don't have all the rules and maybe I should be doing a bit of that, but he knows due to the earlier part of that comment that I'm not going to do that. And I just replied, but yeah, fair enough. I did read this rule, but as you've noted, I'm not the type to be wanting to use such rules. And we'll just have to patiently wait on my developer getting out of bed. Cheers. So, yeah. Okay. Right, and this is a big one, which I'll come back to as well. Yeah, mind you, the other part of John's comment here, let us see that, because this turns out to be a new rule situation. Yeah, he says, is there something that prohibits the base of fire package being placed on the same card? This is back when I failed to... so let's see if I can find the rule for this. 8.4.1. Yeah, so it's here. So we were trying to place a package which proved to be impossible to place due to it was going to be placed. It was within the counter attack that we had. And we had friendly units on all the cards that it was wanting to be placed and couldn't be placed there because it needed to open fire on the triggering card. So John has came back and to that one and says, is there something that prohibits the base of fire package being placed on the same card? That's the only place where it can fire on the triggering unit. And he goes through to give some examples and decide. So I was aware of this, and this was one of the problems in second edition. It was a bit complicated, a bit trying to place on the same card. And the line of sight, the max line of sight bit came into it, and folk thought, well, max line of sight could still be on the same card, couldn't it? However, they've cleared this up here, and I'm pretty sure this is new. Well, we know this part. It looks like they're turning that, they're making this new with how they're going to write down ranges rather than say, what is it? The max line of sight. Oh, anyway, they're going to use the point blank and the close and long, I'm assuming. So, but this last part, it says packages with a distance of max line of sight or max line of sight / range cannot be placed at point blank range. So that was the rule that I sent back to John, and he's picked that up and says, yeah, he never noticed that and that. And he says that it might well be in the second edition, but I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it was a new rule. Okay, so moving on. Yeah, that's another part of the one that I've found. Francisco, is it maybe? I think I found a mistake. German hero in the minefield must shoot on the card where the first platoon is located. Yeah, and I was pretty sure Andrew actually answered that to him and said this line of sight is blocked by the incoming. And it's when we were, in the first patrol, we were just constantly bombarding the card with artillery fire to stop it basically firing out. And it is one that can catch folk out, that if you've got an incoming marker, you've got to remember they cannot see out the card. So that was that one resolved. Right, this is another one. He's not replied to me yet. So what he's talking about here is when you have a package that places a no PDF VOF marker, and then actually, where is this in the rules? I've got it's in 8 somewhere. Hang on, yeah, this is it here, and then I'm pretty sure this is new as well. I suppose again I could go and look in the other rule book, but I'm not going to. So it's when you're not placing a PDF, VOF. So it says here, all right, enemy forces that do not initially place a VOF PDF will open fire. And remember, I eventually read this. I was wondering when they opened fire as well, because I was under the impression, like what John thought, but it says will open fire at the end of the turn during the cleanup phase. So that tells you there that if they don't place a PDF, VOF, that's when they'll start opening fire. And of course, John, like me initially, thinking about the old rules, was wondering, like, when do they open up? Because it doesn't, I mean, it's like a ceasefire. You cease fire and then they open up again. So when he was under the impression that when the unit got placed, because it didn't place a PDF, it didn't automatically engage with the unit that triggered the card, but then it would then start opening fire. And I think that's how I want to say that's how you used to look at it in the old rules as well, I think. So I don't think you're wrong in your thinking with that, John, but it looks like they've cleaned that up a bit. I could be wrong. Maybe it was sort of clarified that that's how it was done in the second edition. But now it's better that way, I think, because it's clearer what happens. So it does mean that they won't start engaging until they've been fired upon themselves, maybe, you know. Right, sorry, I was distracted there. Yeah, so I think it's better now that it's cleared up that they start firing in the clean-up phase, and you might have had the chance, because the whole point of it was that you've spotted them before they've spotted you, and you're going to get to fire on them maybe first, sort of thing. It's similar. I mean, a lot of the German packages come in unspotted, so you can't fire at them. They're firing at you, but you can't fire at them. So this is one of the packages that get you a wee bit back. So I think that clears that one up, John, but let me know if maybe that's not resolved that. Yeah, German A-rated fire teams track ammo. This is a comment from Andrew again, like I just mentioned earlier. Yeah, he enjoyed the fact that my assault team got blew up and the German units just froze, realising that we're in the middle of a minefield. Yeah, I didn't enjoy it so much, Andrew. But yeah, fair enough. Right, and then there's the mines question, which we'll come back to. HQ events are always COHQ. Battalion doesn't talk to anyone else, so event tables along with everything else have been rewritten. COHQ in this case spends a command to re-establish comms with BNHQ. It shouldn't be written like this at all. That's only for when the COHQ is not on the map. So I think the new books are going to clear all this up. I mean, the events are terrible written, you know, they're just brief and they have you scratching your head. I mean, further on we'll get to one which I think he was talking about when I evacuated some casualties. Yeah, it's that one there. Evacuate casualties. Remove all on-map casualties on cards with no US troops. And I took our casualty away as well, which afterwards I thought, it's probably not taking our one away. It's probably just taking his away, but I think that could be clearer. Andrew does confirm later on that evacuate, they'll not, give me a sec. Yeah, he does say that the enemy don't evacuate friendly casualties, which kind of, if you read that out, why are they going to evacuate friendly casualties? And we know they don't capture any friendly casualties, because I know that's in the rule book. However, they evacuate, but I don't think I read anything about that and just done it. But again, maybe the event will make it clearer when the new books. The next one is one that confused me a little bit, and it's obviously to do with me reading about events again. You're reading second edition rulebook, ? Events are absolutely mandatory right now. Follow the instructions means follow the instructions. You're not meant to be comparing books. Okay, sir. Okay. Right. Yeah. I know I've been glancing at the second edition book. It's sometimes for peace of mind comparing something, and yeah, I know I shouldn't be doing it. I know you don't want me reading that. You want me to read your lovely, well set out, much better rule book, and I agree. It's far better. I know they're mandatory. You've told me this way back when Martin brought up the question, saying that if it says must on an event, surely you must do it. Now, again, I played the game when it was back in second edition, and this wasn't clear. And if you look at older threads, and I know you're getting all probably annoyed. We shouldn't be looking at that. We shouldn't be looking at that. I agree. Okay, you've told me they're mandatory. That is fine. You've told me it's going to be clear in the new mission books that that's it. Now, I would have loved to have waited for the new mission books and the components to play this game, but I just couldn't wait any longer. The game's been waiting here for me, and when you guys brought out the rule book for me, which is the main part that you need, I figured I could muddle along. I'm going to have situations like this where I'm not going to get things right because I don't have the mission books. However, you've said already they're mandatory, I get it. I'm not quite sure what I've done there, so I did say not sure what you're talking about here. I can usually work it out, but a timestamp would have helped here. I know the events are mandatory, as you mentioned this before. It wasn't clear while playing 2nd edition, however. And it wasn't 100% clear, although it looked like it should have been. And that was a problem. That was a problem. There was nobody to tell you that, no, that's not how it works. I mean, I want to see even the designer was involved in some of the comments, but I'll just leave it at that. So anyway, I know they're mandatory, and yeah, I've got it. Okay. This is the one. The enemy only evacuate their own casualties and don't capture yours. 8.15.1 last sentence. Whilst I know the one about they don't capture mine, I've been quite aware of that one for 2nd edition as well. I don't think that's changed. I think it's always been the case. The evacuate, but yeah. So I replied, I know they don't capture. That was clear to me. If this was about the event that removed the casualties, then again, it's not clear in the 2nd edition events table, but I now know. Cheers. So it's not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's clear to some folk that think, well, why would they be evacuating US casualties? I don't know. Just needs to be written a bit better, which I'm sure it will be once we get the new 3rd edition stuff. This is I'm talking about how to carry out a fire mission. First, choose which firing agency you're going to use, then draw cards. If it's a success, -1 to the available fire missions for the firing agencies you choose, so you should mark it off then. I know, I've got used to marking them off right then, but as long as it gets marked off, there's not a problem. If it was a triple burst, place extra markers as you like, and it doesn't use any extra ammo. So there we go, that's cleared up. Right, that's the last comment. Again, pending fire and VOF, I like the fact it's a VOF. I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't be needing to go through this again. I know a pending fire is not a VOF marker. I think what triggered this again recently was the fact we ended up with a paralysed team on a card that had a pending fire mission. And so capturing any paralysed alert team, I don't know. So it was a capture segment. I'm assuming this is a bit. Again, he's not timestamped in it, so I'm assuming he was talking about this when I was saying, oh, that's interesting then, because we've got a paralysed team alone. No, sorry, it's not that one. It's a retreat one. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, it's retreat one. Retreat any unpinned paralysed team under a VOF marker. But see, under a VOF, and yes, okay, Andrew, I forgot about that factor as well. So I was saying, oh, that's interesting then, because that is another time when a pending fire mission, if it was considered a VOF marker, would be. But again, he's already said to me that pending fire mission doesn't put something under a VOF. He said that already before. So I thought it was a bit muddled up and whatever. So he says, this is what he said, even if the pending is a VOF marker, can be if you like. As I said, right, sorry, I kind of need to have it on, I kind of put it on silent because I need to watch out for a call and whatever. So it can be if you like, as I said, it doesn't matter. Yeah, well, I'd rather, you've told me that it's not a VOF in 3rd edition, and all I'm sort of saying after this is maybe it should just be written somewhere, but it looks like he's replied to that, and I'm not sure that it's a positive reply from my reply, shall we say. It doesn't matter. That doesn't make the paralysed unit under fire. Okay, I forgot about the fact that you've explained to me that if it was a VOF it still wouldn't be under fire of a VOF because it's still just a pending fire mission. He says it's reacting to the situation it's currently in, not the situation it will be in about 20 minutes when it gets hit by artillery. Okay, but you played this game back in the day as well, Andrew, and well, all I can say is that to me back then it was considered by some or most that a pending fire mission was, and I want to say the designer was involved in that comment too, that he's I know you said it was talking about something else, but just I think if it was written in the rulebook clear that it wasn't counted, an incoming marker is a VOF, pending fire marker is not a VOF. Just, that's what. So I've said, okay, you made it clear to me that pending fire mission marker is not considered a VOF counter or counts as under fire. Right, fair enough. I forgot about the under fire bit. So okay, you've got that. That's worked out. So that does not apply. Here's one other case where it could apply, which I remembered a bit later and didn't add to this. The other time that VOFs could matter is the effective activity level. No, that doesn't matter, Grant. What am I thinking? No, it's not activity level, because that's what we're talking about, really. Is the card draws. The card draws that would that are triggered on the activity level. So, if you're saying you could count it if you want, that means that you could be at contact rather than no contact, or a bit more. And maybe your card draws for your COHQ are going to be affected by that. Why am I getting into that? I'm getting myself muddled up here. Hang on. Yeah, sorry, scratch all that. Why am I thinking? There's something on my mind that tells me that there's some other reason when VOS can affect something else. And I can't for the life of me think what it is now. Unless that's maybe just me going off on one. Right, well, let's scratch all that bit about what I'm saying there. So, so I've finished my thing with, is this in the rules anywhere? That states that the pending fire mission is not VOF. If not, I think a lot of folk will be unsure about it. So I'm only just saying that. I mean, I think a lot of people that played the game before might be as well. However, he says, I don't think it is, no. Mainly because it doesn't mean anything. And relating under fire to being on a card with a pending fire mission marker is a huge stretch. About to be hit in a future that the unit knows nothing about is not by anyone's definition the meaning of under fire. Still, I guess under fire needs a definition of some kind. I'll add it somewhere in the notes on the enemy activity hierarchy chart. Okay, I just don't know, the pending fire marker, mission marker, it goes on the map. Okay, there's a lot of other markers that go on the map that aren't VOFs, but it could be confused as a VOF. Maybe that's what I'm seeing. And what's the harm in having that written somewhere? That's all. Okay. Maybe I'm just stretching things to a bit that it doesn't need to be. But listen, I know it now. It's not a VOF. It doesn't put anything on the fire. I've got it. Okay, right. Let's move on from that. And I can't think about the other bit. I think I was just getting myself in a mess there. Okay, so thanks for all your comments, Andrew and everybody else. There's two big ones still to talk about, and yeah, we've got to half an hour. And this is just going to be a part full of nonsense, really. Well, it's not nonsense. It's important, especially with the two things that I'm going to talk about now. Well, let's get Andrew's one out the way first. And he's mentioned this in a few comments on my YouTube videos because I didn't get this right away. And so it's when I was on patrol the last time and we came across some mines. And there they are, the mines. Right, so our route points were 1, 2, that was our objective, and then our route points were 3, 4, back to the farm. Okay, so I chose to do it that way, and Andrew said I was trying to sneak away without going through potential contacts. Yeah, fair enough, blah, blah, blah. But now that I've found this, it's like, yeah, I wouldn't have mattered. You know, I could have just carried on and everything would have been fine. And unfortunately, I worded my question in a way that Andrew. Well, don't get me wrong. It was my wording in the question. I admit that. Now, when I look back on it, I can see that without seeing the video footage, and it wasn't until later on when he's seen the video footage that he realised what my question was actually meaning and not how I had worded it. So, yeah, here it is here. Okay, so, and obviously my question had been Combat Patrol TCM, and I've highlighted the sentence that got me where it says you may also have to designate route points to mark out the path that the patrol must, and I've highlighted that in bold, follow. So they must follow that path, right? And that's kind of what stuck in my head, right? And that is in where is that? That'll be in the same area, I think. No, it's actually the page before. So this is when it talks about the Combat Patrol TCM and the mainline resistance. You may also have to designate route points to mark out the path that the patrol must follow. There. So, however, he has admitted that that was in a comment on the YouTube video that he because at first he was saying there's no mention in the word must. Well, you know, then I was going to come and say, well, there kind of is there, but I think he said he was maybe going to get that edited. Although I think he said it was in the... Was it in the playrate? I don't know. I'm going to go back. Nah, I'm just going to leave that. Anyway, so, yeah, to mark out the path that the patrol must follow, right? So it kind of leads you to think that they've got to go through the waypoints, doesn't it? And then that initially would suggest to you that you've got to go that way and you can't go another way. Really, wouldn't it? I mean... yeah, maybe not. However, when it eventually got brought to my attention and Andrew dropped the bombshell that you don't have to all go through the route point, I was like, hey, really? And I was like, I came to look through the rules because he didn't quote me the rule or anything like that. I don't think at the time. And so I was like, is that right? I'm sure I read that you must go through them, and that's what part of my question was. However, this is the Combat Patrol rules set up, and this is on page 12. And then Combat Patrol objectives here. There's no need to clear or secure the objective or route points unless specifically required by the mission instructions. So here we go. Therefore, it is not necessary for every unit from the patrol to stay on the path of the route points. And then the last sentence, only one unit needs to touch each point as they go, though more than one may do so. So, I still think it would have been nice to make it clear that you could vary your route. You don't have to. I mean, maybe that is enough, I don't know. And it's clear. It is clear that it's not necessary for every unit from the patrol to stay on the path of the route point. Only one unit needs to touch each point. So it kind of is clear. I mean, what that means is that when we were coming from the farm into route point 1, into route point 2, the assault team went in there, he's touched route point 2, right? He is now, yeah, the problem is you're going to have to send something back in there, but I would have done that. So we've touched route point 1, we've touched route point 2, found a minefield. Then this whole platoon doesn't need to go anywhere near that card. It can go up here. It can go up here. It can still head for the objective another way. So that's what I was trying to place my question as when I eventually came across it, and I worded it in a poor way. Because my question really was, can you deviate from the route points? And unfortunately, I've not worded it well, and Andrew's not picked up, because he replied to my comment on BGG with the commenter, well, that's what you get for trying to avoid PC markers and have an easier time. High risk, no return. Just put the route markers on 4 cards if you don't want this to happen. So, and I'm still thinking, right, well, you can't deviate then, because he's not said that you can, but my question was worded poorly. And it wasn't until he's seen the video, he's like, you do realise you don't need to actually, you only need 1 unit to touch that. And I'm like, and that's when the penny dropped. I'm like, oh, right. So, and what I could have done was move into there. Reached waypoint. No, that would be an objective. However, I would have had to send somebody back into there, I think, because this is a route point coming back. Although, I don't know, maybe not, Andrew. I'll leave that one there for you. If we've got route point 2 and route point 3 in here, does me moving on to there satisfy me touching 2 and 3, or does it need to be returned again? I wouldn't have thought you could really look at it that way, so it probably does achieve it. But there you go, we could have moved up here and up here. So, well, we know now, we know if we come across any mines again, we know how to do it. So, at least we've learned about it. And even after me saying this as well, but yeah, okay, I see this now, but did need confirmation that basically my patrol is screwed, as there is no way to manoeuvre around the minefield, and I'm as well abandoning it. So again, he's not really... He says, right, remember, it doesn't matter, as failing a patrol has no consequences, just head on back to the staging area and call it done. And yes, all the route points that set the 1 on row 4 could have been mines. So he's not really triggered there either, but I'm not blaming him for it, because it was poorly worded, and it looked, what he said was, I think does he not say in here? Yeah, well, now I reread this, and it still seems like you're asking about the return journey. Yeah, full interruptions. So this is definitely just going to be a part that's going to be just talking about mistakes and comments and phone calls and text messages coming through and making a mess. Yeah, and this is after he's commented on my YouTube video as well about this situation. He says, well, now I reread this, and it still seems like you're asking about the return journey and having to order a unit into a known minefield. And I can see that. When you read that, I can see that. So apologies for that, Andrew, and thanks for trying to get but I was frustrated when I seen it, and I thought, oh, why did he not say it to me before, but and then reread my question, and I say, okay, he's got a point. So he says, to answer your question, you meant to ask, it says in the rule book, only 1 unit has to touch a card, and there he's quoted the rule that I've just went and showed. Everyone else can walk around the mines, so... Not sure how I could have interpreted your question any differently, though, where you mention every unit... Question mark. Is that what I said then, was it? I don't know. I don't always... Sorry, I don't know. I don't always get that. But anyway, not sure. It's much easier to know what you're talking about after watching your video several days later. Yeah, fair enough. And I replied with fair enough. I can see I could have worded this better. And then I know now, because he's told me it all, blah, blah, blah. And he says, yeah, sorry, that I took this to mean that you wanted to move the route point marker, because I was talking about I wanted to deviate, and he was talking about changing the route point markers. Yeah, but it was my bad for the question in the first place. We've got that resolved now, so that's all great. We now know what we can do, and some of these things happen. You can be playing the game. I mean, this and also the one I'm about to talk about, I get the feeling that I might have done this properly when I first played this and realised that you only needed to touch them, and then you could... I do. I think I've done it that way. Why have I not remembered that, though? Why is that not stuck in my head? I don't know. And the next one is even worse. And at first I thought, I think I played that always like this. And then I started thinking, I thought, no, I don't think you have, Grant. I think you knew this, and then you've came into this game and forgotten about it and done it in a different way. So I'm going to get to that just now. Let me bring up John's comment then. Okay, so this is a huge one that I've totally ignored for the whole playthroughs that I've done. Like I say, this is the first time of it being brought up, and John's bringing this up in Mission 2 Part 2. So that was a little bit ago as well, to be honest. So my guess is that there'll certainly be talk about this. Whether I've actually went and done it wrongly or not, it's quite possible. And that would be a shame. It would be a real shame, because if I have carried this out, then it really puts a big asterisk on the actual outcome of the missions that have happened. And it's a simple line of sight thing. Now, these cards are white bordered right round about. You can see right through them. No matter where if you can get to see at this card, you can see through to the next card, right? Open fields, cemetery, yeah. Hedgerow bocage here. It's got white borders down the side, on the corner, along that side, on that corner, up. It doesn't have it on that corner, or there. And it's because there's a hedge there. You know, hedgerow bocage on that side of it. You'll find that the hedgerow bocages are slightly different. That's another one that's the same, actually. It's got the same border up the top. Do we have another one we can... I don't think we do. Oh, yeah, there's one there. So there's one that's got the hedges at the top and the bottom, and you can see right through that way, though. However, right, line of sight. Well, how I've been looking at line of sight is... you can always see into the adjacent card, right? You can always see it in an adjacent card. However, I've been looking at line of sight as, say we're in this Orchard Grove here. Now, there's a green border here. We want to look in this hedgerow bocage, right? So that's a green border, but we can always see into that card. Now, we're moving across that green border, and there's a wee green border here, and this is what I've got wrong, okay? So we're crossing across, we can see into this card. What I've then done is say that there's a white border at this corner, so I can see into that card, and then I can see through into that card, because that's a white border. Well, that's wrong. It needs to have a white border at either side of the bit that you want to look to a further card. Not when you first come in, but, you know, this doesn't affect you when you first come into the card, but to see beyond that card, both bits need to be white. And it's clearly in the rules. And like I say, at first my initial thought was, I think I've always played it like that, and I've always got it wrong. And then I thought, no, I don't think you did, Grant. I think you've just lapsed and you've came into this just thinking rather than going confirming this. So 5.2.1, line of sight and range. Terrain borders, limitation of range, reciprocal line of sight in urban terrain are taken into account when determining line of sight between units. The following rules apply. Terrain card line of sight borders. There is a border around the perimeter of each terrain card that consists of white and or dark green segments. Dark borders block the tracing of line of sight, but white borders do not. Check the colour of the side or corner borders in the direction you want to check. You want to check line of sight. Line of sight is traced along the 8 straight lines only from a card to the 8 adjacent cards and beyond. Thus, you may not trace line of sight left to right over 2 cards and then up, down, diagonally 1, right? And right, so here's the big one. Regardless of the colour of the borders on terrain cards, you may automatically trace line of sight into all adjacent cards close range, right? Now I've said that. I'll just come down because this little example explains it perfectly. And Grant just didn't look at this part. So for a line of sight to pass through a second card, for a line of sight to pass through to a second card, which is long range, and third card, very long range, both the entry and the exit sides of the cards passed through must have white borders. There it is. Nice and simple, nice and clear they are. So here's the example. German squad 1-3, which is here, and US squad 1-1 have no line of sight to each other as only one border of the hedgerow is white. There's a white side, there's a green side. Well, I would have been playing that he could not see him because he could see into this card and that blocked the line of sight into that card. I would have been playing it that he could see him. So it's kind of odd because if that was the case, that line of sight is always, what is the word again? Reciprocal. If he can see you, you can see him. So I wish I'd came across this situation, because then I would have said, right, wait a minute, if he can see him, he can see him. And then I would have thought, well, how can he can't see him because of this green border. And then I might have looked into it deeper. But however, I obviously never came across this situation. And the reason they can't see each other is because there's only one of these borders white. Both of them need to be white. So this one, although I would have thought he could see him because of this white border, this is green. So this stops him from seeing beyond this card. He can see into this card, but he can't see beyond it. So, yeah, thanks, John. I wish you had spotted this way back. It's maybe been that I've got away with it up until then, or the thing is, I have spoke about line of sight situations, and maybe I've got away with it. The one he even noticed, he brought up, and he says it sounded like you might have the line of sight rules mixed up, and I clearly did. I'm not going through his whole comment. It's basically everything that I've said, but go and read it if you want. He says also, reminder, line of sight is reciprocal. I knew that, and smoking incoming, block it going out. I knew all that. And then he gives some examples of how you could look at it. And if anybody's not clear or wants to go and read more into that, I'll leave them to do that. But yeah, that was kind of huge. And I think the one I was trying to do, it was up, I was coming down. Eventually, I wasn't able to do it, so we got lucky at that point. But there's nothing to say that I've not blundered with that throughout any of the other missions that I've done. And it might have even been before John's brought that up, because I'm not saying that everybody watches through every minute of my videos, because they're long, hard going. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe if you want to get the full effect of it all, I suppose you kind of need to, but some of it can be hard work. I know that for sure. So we've got that out in the open now, and we know we know how it works. So thanks for everybody bringing them up. Two big bombshells there, like I say, the one about the route points, and clearly the even bigger one about the line of sight issue. So I just hope that I might have got lucky, and any time that I've been doing it, it's been on the cemetery or open fields. If you think about it, it's possible I might have got away with it, really, because even this hedgerow bocage here has got whites. I can see through. You can see through that. It's quite clear. It's only when you get to the sort of edge ones that, like this one here, you can't see from. You can see from here into here, but I now know you can't see into this village because that's not white. And same coming down there. So, okay, good stuff. Right, well, that's me back up to date with all the comments and things. I think so. Feels like there's something else that I might have been missing, but I can't quite think. They'll maybe come to me during play. Yeah, looks like everyone's up to date. Right, I'll get this plugged in. I think I'll just cut that as a part, and then I can easily just put, because to be honest, I've not got much time left. I really need to get on with things. I'm going to work shortly. I've got a long day at work, and yeah, I might get a wee bit of chance tomorrow night actually, and then Saturday's rotten again. So it's probably going to be, if anything, I might get a part done tomorrow night at some point. Yeah, okay, so we'll leave it at that for now. Where are we anyway? We're toddling along with this one. We're on game turn 3. Oh, I'll need to put my marker back because we're halfway through game turn 3. So I want to put that back. We are on the enemy higher HQ event phase. So we'll be coming back to that. So hopefully get that started tomorrow night, and at least get turn 3 finished. And yeah, okay. Right, I'll be back tomorrow at some point, and I'll put a comment in the header about this just being a chat about some errors and comments and other things. Okay, cheers.